Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about becoming a Midlife Possibility Girl. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast, Women in the Middle, with over 1 million downloads and counting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again. Okay, my friend, I am super curious about what you think this episode is all about. I can't wait to tell you, because we're going to be doing some thought-busting work today. But just quick, before I go into that super fun direction, I want to make sure you know about a new way to have more fun with the Women in the Middle podcast. You are invited to join the new podcast club. Let me tell you what this is all about. As you probably know, I love bringing this podcast to you every week now for over 6 years. I know, shocking. I've been thinking about how it can really bring us together in an intimate kind of crazy way, but a podcast can really help you feel connected. As you may also know, I like to think of the podcast as a party in your purse. It's like a cozy blanket for your soul at a time in your life when you can really use it. Enter the Women in the Middle podcast club. The podcast club is basically a book club experience for the podcast. We're going to be going deeper into the podcast conversation started in the recent episodes. You're going to get a Zoom call with me once a month, an easy-to-use podcast Go Deeper guide with a thought-provoking bunch of questions to help you apply what you're learning on the podcast to your own life, and also some fun surprises along the way. You're also going to be able to chat with me directly and share your thoughts with me and other like-minded women. So don't waste another minute. It is surprisingly affordable. So check it out and sign up at www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast club button, or go directly to susierosenstein.com/podcast-club. I can't wait to get this party started. Okay, now, if the podcast club announcement wasn't juicy enough, I have something else to share with you. There is something fun happening in February 2024. Keeping with the connection theme, if you love the podcast and hearing me in your ear every week, you're going to love joining me and other like-minded women on the Women in the Middle Connection Cruise. Yep, it's an intimate small group in-person opportunity. It's a 4-night cruise, and we leave from Florida in February 2024. We'll be cruising to the Bahamas and Key West. So if this sounds interesting to you, send me an email right away to get on the list and make sure that you get a spot at the best price and all the details. Email me at info@susierosenstein.com. That is info@susierosenstein.com, and put cruise in the subject head. I can't wait to hear from you, and more importantly, hang out with you on the first Women in the Middle Connection Cruise. Okay, now let's dive into this episode. This week, we're talking about becoming a midlife possibility girl. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck is that? Here's what happened. A couple of months ago, I was at a retreat where everyone was challenged to think about what superhero we were. Like, if you were a comic book character or a superhero in a movie, who would you be? Do you know? Well, I didn't know. And I wasn't immediately attracted to this exercise either, so I started doodling and spacing out a little bit. I looked around, and the other women all around me were busy writing their ideas down, so I thought, oh, what the heck? Maybe I should just play with this idea and see what happens. I thought, okay, what is my zone of genius? Doing this work now for about 9 years or so with Women in the Middle. Right? I've been working in the midlife space now for a while. What is the core thing that I consistently help women with at this point in their lives? As I was preparing for this episode, I went back and pulled out my notes. There was definitely a few consistent ideas there, but I have to say, it kind of hurt my brain. I thought about my clients over the years and what they overcame to make progress, what was stopping them and getting in the way of allowing them to embrace their future, why they said they were stuck and unclear in the first place, and of course, why they weren't taking care of themselves and had such terrible self-care in general when it came to allowing themselves to have fun. So, are you squirming right now? Am I talking to you? One thing I didn't do at that time, though, was actually look up a few definitions, so I want to do that now. The basic definition of possibility is a chance that something may happen or be true. Vocabulary.com broke it down like this. A capability of existing or happening or being true, a future prospect or potential, a possible alternative, a tentative insight into the natural world, a concept that is not yet verified, but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. Now that's more like a theory, but the other three definitions I think really describe what's going on with this concept of possibility. Capability of existing or happening or being true, a future prospect or potential, and a possible alternative. Now, one of the main reasons the possibility concept is important when working with the women in the middle gals like yourself is because of some common topics that we deal with when coaching. And I say we because it's me and the clients and you and other coaches and all of that. But when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm specifically talking about what's going on with women in the middle. And I'm talking about limiting beliefs, black and white thinking, autopilot thinking, and not having reliable skills to dream. Yeah, to dream. Now, there's some overlap here, but essentially this is what we're dealing with. At least this is what I've been seeing over, like I said, almost 10 years, 9 or 10 years of working directly with so many women in the middle. So as I was brainstorming and thinking carefully about what my core coaching work is, these ideas started to come through. The first one I saw in my notes was fuel and fun. So basically, what do we need as midlife women and how can we make it more fun? Then the whole deep dive idea came through because of my passion for whale watching and thinking about the actual deep work that we do together when we're coaching. And then, of course, no good brainstorming session like this can avoid the concept of no regrets and what I call the act of regret-proofing your life. And to do this all well, so many midlife gals need to make some sort of a transformation to keep moving forward and intentionally develop the life they crave. So the idea of being a transformer girl kind of came up in my notes too. Lots of words that started with M I saw written all over the place, like the obvious midlife magic girl. And I thought, yeah, I like that concept, but that's not quite what I'm looking for. But there were so many ideas to try on. And then the other thing is, I take your iTunes reviews and client testimonials so seriously. Thinking about my strengths is one thing, but hearing from you and what actually helped you move the dial forward to a much happier and more fulfilling place is quite another. So I do spend time looking at your feedback. I'm so grateful for your feedback because it really helps me understand what it is that I'm teaching or coaching that is really helping you. Now, the idea of dream bigger girl popped in. I saw it there in the notes, but it wasn't quite right for what I thought truly captured the essence of the life-changing work that we do together. Then, boom, there it was. I drew a star with a cute little action, like those cute little action lines around it, so it looks like the star is vibrating. And I also did some mindful doodling around it, which, by the way, is something I teach in my academy. And as I did all of this and took my time with it, the words Midlife Possibility Girl took their position proudly within the fresh little doodle. And there she was. And there I was, your Midlife Possibility Girl, ready to guide you on your journey to embrace what's actually possible in your life, no matter your age. So, what do you think? Did I hit the nail on the head? Does that sound about right? Please email me with your feedback about how you relate to me and the podcast and how it helps you think about what's possible for you. So, you might be wondering now about the little doll that's on the cover art for this episode. Well, that's my finger puppet version of Midlife Possibility Girl. Look for her to make some appearances on Zoom in the future. I found her while I was out for my 60th birthday family outing, and I thought she was perfect for me. She was just sitting there in a box full of other little finger puppets. And I thought, oh my gosh, her hair, it's a little blonder than mine, but her face is round, just like mine. And she's a mermaid. Now, I'm not really attracted to mermaids, but it looks like she has a whale tail. So I thought this little finger puppet is perfect for me. Anyway, together we have some work to do because if I know you, I know you have some limiting beliefs, black and white thinking, autopilot thinking, and limited reliable skills to dream about what's possible for you in your life. So here is what I'm talking about. Let's start with limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs refer to beliefs that you have that limit what you can do or accomplish. You may not even know you have them. They typically sneak up on you and you don't even notice them. You probably don't, but what you do notice is how they make you feel, which is usually the opposite of capable and confident. That's usually the opposite. And what you do as a result of feeling that way is something else you might notice. That's when you're likely to catch on and catch them in the act. Here's what I mean. Let's say you want to go for a walk 4 mornings a week. Sounds like a great idea. You're totally into it. You even buy new sneakers. You set your alarm. But when it comes time to lace up those sneakers in the morning, you're not following through. You can see yourself. You're just not doing it. So what's going on here? It's likely you're thinking something you're not aware of that's not helpful. Perhaps something like, I suck at morning routines. Or maybe this one, I am never able to start a new morning routine. So just those 2 little thoughts that seem really innocent, they can really, like I like to say, they can stink up the joint. So that is the kind of thought that limits your potential. It pulls you back from believing in what's possible. Now, if you're not getting the results you want in your life, be on the lookout for thoughts that aren't on your side. They aren't useful in relationship to your goals, the goals that you set, the goals that you care about. Here's another issue, black and white thinking. Now, this refers to when you only think about what's possible in extreme terms, like it's black or it's white. Extreme in quotes, but like opposite ends of that kind of continuum. It's either this or it's that, and there's nothing in between. The thing is that there is so much possibility in between. That's the problem. Sometimes the gray zone is a great place to be on its own. And sometimes the gray zone helps you move forward and ultimately creates the bridge to the result that you actually want. So here's an example of that. Let's say you're trying to lose 20 pounds. And in your mind, 20 pounds is a success. Anything less is a failure. But what about the way you're drinking way more water now than you used to? Right? Or maybe you're eating vegetables every day at lunch and that's something new. Or no longer eating after whatever time you decide to cut eating off, like maybe 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., whatever it is, you stopped eating after that time. Or maybe even losing 5 pounds, like you lost 5 pounds but you didn't lose 20. So are those kinds of results a failure? They don't have to be. They're only a failure if you believe them to be a failure. What if you thought about them differently? What if those results actually helped you keep moving forward? That's the point. The gray zone can be really useful and positive when it comes to helping you imagine what's really possible. Now, let's talk about autopilot thinking. This is another typical concept that gets in the way of you getting your head around what's truly possible. This refers to you thinking by habit rather than on purpose. It's kind of like you just do it. You're thinking about whatever it is in the same old habitual way without being intentional about it. It's like a habit. I noticed I have one of these now, and I'm actually working on it a little bit. I notice when it's getting late, I resist going to bed. My autopilot thought is something like this. I get more done at night because nobody's bugging me. I want to stay up. I'm excited about getting so much done. So it's about being productive. And this kind of thinking goes back to when I had young kids. Now, my young kids are in their 20s. That was a long time ago. I mean, I do have my baby, Nico the Noof. But anyway, it makes no sense to think the same way now at 60 with older kids as it did to think that way when they were younger. But there it is, clear as day, affecting how I feel and what I do. So that is autopilot thinking. Now let's dig into another one, limited reliable skills to dream. Now this one can be pretty surprising because if you think about it, why wouldn't it be great to think about what you really want to do? You used to think about this stuff all the time when you were younger, when you were a kid, for example. What toys you wanted, who you wanted to play with, what you wanted to wear, what hobbies you wanted to get good at, what shows you wanted to watch, what sleepovers you wanted to have. And then again, when you graduated from high school, some major dreaming going on then, and another round of it when you finished that phase of university or your first job or two, when you finally started to establish yourself as a young adult. And you thought about where you wanted to live and who you wanted to spend your life with. But then 20, or 30 or even more years flew by, and now it's hard to do. You're clearly older and wiser. You tend to have more resources and more flexibility, and it can be kind of like sometimes you're standing at the world's biggest buffet line, noticing that you can't make decisions and you have no clarity about what you want, and it feels too indulgent to allow yourself to pursue things that seem too decadent or too much. It just seems too much, and you could never focus on yourself that way or take that much time or money to spend on something that you just want, but you don't need in the classic sense. So that was like a whole thought dump, but that's the kind of thing that happens. And that's the problem. So many midlife gals have forgotten how to dream. Or when they allow the hint or whisper of an idea to pop through and it gets to your awareness, then you have all these other thoughts that come on. Oh, it's too much. I don't dare do that. What will people think? All that crap pops in. And you're unbelievably uncomfortable with just allowing yourself to want the things in your life that you really, really want, that you never made time for before, or that you didn't even know that you wanted. I can't tell you how often I hear people say, I don't even know what I'm passionate about. I don't even know what I want. So there you go. That is a huge problem. It's a huge problem to not know how to dream, to not know how to get in touch with those thoughts about what it is that you really want. And then when you do get in touch with them, it's so common to just squish them down into oblivion. So, as I said, your midlife possibility girl has some work to do. You deserve to be happy and fulfilled. You deserve to allow yourself to be happy. You deserve to imagine what's possible and help yourself develop the courage and confidence to go after it. And all of this means you also deserve to develop the skills to become the queen of your brain domain. You have to learn to be aware of what you're actually thinking so that you can see it and you can decide if it deserves to be taking up real estate in your brain. If you can't see it, if you aren't good at noticing what's going on up there, it becomes quite difficult to be intentional going forward into the next chapter of your life. Now, my ultimate goal is to have you also become a midlife possibility girl. The question is, are you up for the challenge? You know, we can have a lot of fun doing this together. I really hope that you are. Okay, that's it for this episode. As you know, this podcast is all about how to love your life again after 50. It's really all about coaching you to become more intentional and to incorporate mindfulness into your life as a regular practice. This is how you put yourself on your agenda. My focus as your midlife coach is to help you get unstuck, clear, and focused on your current values and priorities so that you don't have regrets. I can help you create the success you're looking for. That's why I created the Women in the Middle Academy with you in mind, because it's a warm, supportive, and fun coaching community of like-minded women who grow forward together so you feel great about your roadmap to a more fun, meaningful, and regret-free next chapter. So email me your questions and let's talk about it and see if it's for you. Go ahead and book your free, no-obligation momentum call at www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. For show notes and links, head over to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 317. And if you want to take the podcast conversation to a whole new level, join the Women in the Middle Podcast Club by heading over to susierosenstein.com and clicking the Podcast Club button. And if you're interested in cruising with me in February, the Connection Cruise is waiting for you. Email me at info@susierosenstein.com and put cruise in the subject line, and you'll get an email with the next steps. There are limited spots, so make sure to take action now. Thanks so much for listening. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. I'm Susie Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you next week.